The following is a sponsored program paid for by Swartz Culleton. The stories you are about to see are real.
It's been rough because basically I've been miserable and there's no denying it.
Stories of people in trouble.
It was a very difficult time for a long time.
And the law firm that came to their aid.
To be honest with you, if I didn't have Swartz Culleton, I don't know how I would have dealt with what happened to Clyde.
Lawyers who truly make a difference.
Swartz Culleton means a lot to the Pee Wee division of the Northwest Raiders.
Because Swartz Culleton cares.
I'm looking out the window and I know I'm entering construction, so I slow down. Then I see the truck and I was like, I can see out of my peripheral vision, and I can see he's not stopping. You can see the headlights coming at you. But I also noticed all the papers on the dash just floating up in the air. Driving, I like the satisfaction that you're really your own boss when you're out on the road. Nobody's watching over you 24/7.
Being married to a truck driver is interesting. You do worry because you know that he's on the road. You do worry that there's other people on the road, and there are many more challenges than going to an office to work.
I view myself as a very safe driver.
You know, he doesn't want to have any accidents. That's just how Brian is. He's very safe with everything he can be.
On the day of my accident, I went to work. Everything was normal. I mean, it was sunny out. It was clear. I went to Toms River, New Jersey. I went there, delivered, got unloaded, and then I got a phone call to take a backhaul in Pittston, Pennsylvania, which is near Scranton, Pennsylvania. I'm looking out the window and I see a state trooper on the right-hand side. I know I'm entering construction, so I slowed down. It's a weird way they have it set up for the construction to merge on. There's no merge, it's just a stop sign. Then I see the truck and I was like, I can see out of my peripheral vision, and I can see he's not stopping. You can see the headlights coming at you. So I blow the horn 4 times, I go up against the center barrier as far as I can go without hitting it. And I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna hit me. So I grab the wheel as hard as I can. My head hits the sun visor, my knee hits the dashboard. And finally my head goes back and forth like a rag doll, and the seatbelt tensions and horse collars me. And I was practically out of it.
The telephone rang, and it was my husband on the phone.
I called my wife on the phone and told her, what happened.
I was asleep when I received the phone call. It was in the middle of the night when the accident happened. So to wake up to that phone call was alarming.
My shoulder was bothering me. It was hurting. Then the ambulance came and I went in the ambulance.
Brian went to the hospital directly after the accident and was diagnosed with a bruised shoulder.
I got checked out. They said, oh, you just have a bruised shoulder. So I'm like, oh, bruised shoulder, okay. I can deal with that.
Unfortunately, that was not the correct diagnosis.
After the accident, I did go back to work, and I did work for a few days, but I tried to reach up to shut the door. There's a door handle for the trailer door, and when I reached up, the pain was so excruciating, I almost fell to the ground.
Brian was in excruciating pain every day and night.
My first surgery was on my shoulder. They had to repair a partially torn rotator cuff, and the AC joint was bone on bone.
And then after they did the surgery, he was still in a lot of pain, and that's when they discovered that it was actually his neck as well.
The second surgery I had, they did fusion with decompression and put a titanium plate in my neck.
After the surgery was very difficult because what Brian had typically done then fell back onto my shoulders.
It makes it a lot tougher to do things you normally would have done, I had a hard time just taking the dog out and walking.
It was trying. It was very trying. It was, it was tough.
It's been rough because basically I've been miserable and there's no denying it.
So Brian was very unpleasant. He was in extreme pain.
It's just you wake up, it just hurts, you're miserable. Well, you can't do the things you used to be able to do, like if you want to play with I have a daughter, she's 10 years old right now. if you want to go out and have a catch with her, pick her up, whatever you want to do.
It was a tough adjustment for her because she is used to her father being there and being able to go and do things with her. After the accident, he just couldn't do it. He was in too much pain.
It's boring, it's frustrating not being able to work. And then most of all, it's frustrating not to know if you're going to have enough money to pay for food or for anything. I mean, even for your electric or gas or anything like that.
It was horrible for us because we had to pinch pennies in every way. We had to minimize every bill that we could. And it was a very difficult time for a long time.
I called Swartz Culleton basically because I didn't know how to handle a situation like this. I needed somebody that can tell me what to do.
Swartz Culleton was very professional.
I truly believe they care. Every step of the way, they just guided you along. And when you needed help, they helped you out.
And the attorney told us what their final offer was. It was a sigh of relief because we knew that after all of the time that we had suffered, at least this was going to do us some justice and be able to help us.
It made me feel a lot better than I had in a long time because now I know I had money to pay for all the bills and everything that you need to raise a family.
Looking back, had we not have called Swartz Culleton, we would not have been where we are today.
I feel that they, if you're going to say somebody hits it out of the park, they hit it out of the park. Yeah, big time.
I encourage every one of our clients to try to work through their injury. I encourage every single person to do that. There's going to be such a level of sincerity if they try to work through the injury and they just get to the point where they fail. We know that ethically and morally we did everything right if they give all of their effort to try to work through the injury. So when I have a circumstance like Brian, early on in the case they sort of experienced denial. So he has this neck pain and he has this shoulder pain and he reports it to the doctor, but he continues to work through it. So Brian's stoicism is an issue that I deal with a large percentage of my male clients. The truth of the matter is, it really shouldn't make any difference to me because it's my job to tell the story. It's my job to learn everything about him. It's my job to learn everything he's going through, and then it's my job to tell the story. So when we go into court, we very much feel like we are the teacher, the jury is the students, and we want to make sure that they understand what our case is. So the amount of communication that is required between a client and the attorney in any particular case is probably the most important thing to the successful prosecution of the case. So here's what I tell my clients. Any single time they experience a milestone in a case, so a milestone could be, do you have an MRI study done? Do you have a visit with a new doctor? Anytime that there is a milestone, we need to have a communication and we need to discuss how that milestone is going to affect your case. We give them guidance in going through the process. So communication varies certainly on a case-by-case basis, but it needs to be understood that it is the most important part about successfully prosecuting a case for somebody that's been injured. What I tell our client is the only way that we can reach any goal is to get through each milestone in the case one step at a time. If we execute everything properly in the case, then ultimately we'll get the highest settlement possible. So what Chris and I believe is that we add value to the case by being involved, that will be accomplished in what we do, and that ultimately we're going to increase the odds that we're going to do well on the case. That's the type case where we can really experience joy at the end of the case, where everything can go well, they can have a recovery, and then they can have a financial component of the case which makes them feel happy.
Swartz Culleton Cares will continue. If you've been injured in an accident, know your rights. Call the attorneys at Swartz Culleton at 1-800-JUSTICE. Whether you've been injured in a car or work accident, or from medical malpractice or unsafe premises, get the justice you deserve. The attorneys at Swartz Culleton have the experience and expertise to get you the maximum result. Call 1-800-JUSTICE today.
If you've been injured, get justice.
Call 1-800-JUSTICE today.
My name is Frank Taylor. I'm a coach of the Northwest Raiders Pee Wee Division team.
Let's go, Raiders. Let's go. Lock up. Lock up, Raiders.
My team is the 10, 12-year-olds. The program is here to help these kids create discipline, help them create self-reliance.
Our goal is to have a place for our kids to have a fun time, but a structured time. I'm Wade. I'm the president of the Northwest Raiders. One of the things that our organization brings is that opportunity to keep the kids off the street. It keeps our kids safe because they're in a structured program. You have people who care about them.
These coaches are awesome. My name is Tamika, and I am the team mom for the 130s.
Hey, I've been cooking since 5 this morning, so.
Our coaches do a lot to reach out to these kids. If they don't have a way here, the coaches will pick them up. Coaches drop them off.
Cooking, sweetheart.
As long as they're willing to come, play, and practice, these coaches take their hard-earned money, time, and they make sure they're on this field.
Some of the kids are from, single-parent homes where the mother is the main support system. And we as coaches, we try to help them, help groom their boys.
Showtime Greenwood. Hey, Lil, what you gonna do?
My son Sydney, he's 13. He chose to come here and play with this group of kids because they wanted a clear, honest shot at winning something.
My name is Sydney, and I play for the Northwest Pee Wee football team, and I'm 13 years old. My favorite part about football is the adrenaline rush when I'm running the ball, and I just want to have my team right there next to me, supporting me wherever I go.
It's giving him a different vision. He's more focused, he's more determined, he's helpful to his teammates.
Me and my teammates are close, knowing that the coaches and my teammates believe in me and what I can do. That gives me confidence to help me be a better person and be a better football player.
Let's go catch your body.
The growth is actually great. You see some kids who come in the program undisciplined and they learn discipline. They want to win, they strive to do better. They do better in the classroom. They do better at home. Because we believe if your books ain't straight, you don't play on the field, you don't hit the field.
In order to play, you have to maintain a C average.
Come on, Raiders! Look how close you are! Come on!
If they fall short of their grade levels, they cannot play football or cheer.
My name is Kim. I'm the cheer coordinator for the Northwest Raiders. I started with the organization because my daughter started cheering when she was 11. I started out as a team parent, then I moved up to assistant coordinator, and next thing you know, I was running the whole program. So I've literally watched cheerleaders go start from 5 years old up until 21. The biggest thing is to keep their children busy. We keep these children from ages 5 to 15 out of trouble. We keep them motivated because we're real big on academic tutors. You can play, but you got to keep your grades up. So a lot of them go to college, and this is their way to go to college, get jobs, and be functioning adults.
Brandon Swartz, that's my lawyer. He also been somebody that I can actually go to him on a personal level. Not just him being my lawyer, but he's also a personal mentor of mine. And I'm looking for sponsorship, and I just called him and said, hey, I'm looking for sponsorship. With no hesitation, he told me to give him a call back, and the following days, it's been history ever since then. He's been one of my greatest supporters for our team. He's been one of the greatest supporters for the kids.
Twain, grab your jersey.
Swartz Culleton gives the kids a sense of pride. It gives the kids a sense of discipline, a sense of wanting to be part of a team. Swartz Culleton and Brandon Swartz means a lot to the Pee Wee division of the Northwest Raiders. The program as a whole, it has helped me mature as a man. It's helped me grow as a person. And it gives me a broad perspective on life and what does it means to give back when you have.
All this hard work paying off. Another undefeated season. Let's go.
The way Chris and I view it is, it's necessarily true that if we're doing well in our profession, that we give a portion of that back to the community who has enabled us to do well.
We do like to give back to the communities where many of our clients come from.
The primary reason is because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and it just feels like we're doing something to help.
Not only is it the right thing to do, but it makes us feel good.
With our work, we help individuals, but sometimes you can step back and do something that helps the whole community.
So I've had this dear client to me for several years, and we represented him in an injury case. And what I learned is that he was giving of his time to coach this local youth football team. And he approached me several years ago. He said, look, we need a sponsor for our uniforms. We don't have the funding to really give the equipment that's necessary for these young inner city children to really thrive in this environment.
We do sponsor football teams, and we provide them money because it's an expensive sport.
So we agreed that is a perfect charity for us to participate with.
And that brings so much to those communities. It gives those kids somewhere to go and somewhere to focus on. It's positive, and it brings them in contact with the coaches who are the good role models.
Because so many of our clients come from that same community of the inner city. And it just made perfect sense.
I don't think we can go in and work for individuals if we just ignore their communities.
And it just so happens that we secondarily had the great joy of seeing that they go on and win a national championship in their age group. I know that my client was incredibly happy to bring a trophy to our office after they won the national championship.
Swartz Culleton Cares will be right back. They are your parents or grandparents. In your youth, you looked up to them. Now they are in your care. But something went terribly wrong. There have been unexplained injuries due to what you suspect is nursing home neglect. A fall, bed sores, even wrongful death. It's time to call the law firm of Swartz Culleton at 1-800-JUSTICE. Swartz Culleton understands nursing home neglect and will fight for just compensation.
If you've been injured, get justice.
Call 1-800-JUSTICE.
What we try to do is we try to take the most complicated medical conditions and simplify them as much as possible so that we can translate to the jury from medical terms into terms that the layman can understand so they can fully appreciate what happened. When we litigate a case, by the time the case gets to the end and the fact finder is deciding the case, in many instances the client looks different than what they did immediately after the event. So many times we take a high-level, sophisticated approach to the medical evidence. We create animations of their injuries, animations of the body so that you can see the inside of the body so that you can fully understand the extent of the injury. And we choose physicians who are of the highest level that can actually explain this process to the jury.
Clyde was such a good person. He had a big heart.
He was a very funny person, always trying to make you laugh. I received a call from a family member that my brother was shot.
He was the greatest to me. He really was. He was the greatest. He didn't deserve what happened to him. My name is Iana. Clyde was my brother. I had 2 brothers growing up. It was always a lot of chaos, but it was a lot of fun. I love my brothers.
My name is Andre. I'm a system engineer. Clyde and I had a great relationship. He was a movie person, so he would try to mimic or just imitate any type of movie just to give you a laugh if he felt that you were down.
Clyde was an avid movie watcher. He did like to imitate parts of movies.
Hello, Clarice. Yeah.
He was the jokester of the family.
Clyde's relationship with Iana, my sister, I think it was more of a stronger bond between them two.
Me and Clyde was Bonnie and Clyde. When you seen him, you saw me. When I got the phone call about Clyde, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning.
I know someone called me.
And they told me that he had been shot and that they didn't know if he was going to make it.
And I rushed down to the hospital.
And when I got there, I just couldn't believe it.
So from my understanding, what happened to Clyde, he went out with a friend to a club. They were intoxicated, started fighting over food.
Well, you know, like pushing and shoving and stuff. And then it escalated into a real fight.
Then his friend went into the trunk and shot him because he was getting the best of him.
He was shot in his chest, but when they put him in a medically induced coma, the bullet traveled to his spine. So that's how he became paralyzed from the waist down.
Clyde did not have any oxygen at the time, and he had some difficulties, and he wasn't the same. But he pulled through.
I would say Clyde was in the hospital for maybe about 6 to 8 months. And then the hospital recommended that he go to a nursing facility for rehabilitation.
But his spirits were still the same.
He was so funny. He was lively. He was himself.
He seemed pretty healthy.
But he developed bed sores with them being in the nursing home. That was my first time ever seeing a bed sore. I looked and I said, well, what's that white stuff? And they said, that's his backbone. So it was down to the bone. Because of the bed sores, he had infection in his body and he passed away.
The result of Clyde passing away, my mother sort of gave up her life as well.
For my mother, it wasn't good. That was her baby boy. She just wanted her son back.
She later passed, I would say a year later.
It's like a hole in my heart, missing Clyde. Without him, it's like a hole in my heart.
I was referred to Swartz Culleton through a friend.
To be honest with you, if I didn't have Swartz Culleton, I don't know how I would have dealt with what happened to Clyde. Because I went through the phone book calling lawyers, and a lot of them would not take the case, but Chris was the only one who said yes.
When I first met Chris, is when I visited his office with my mother.
Chris is an awesome attorney because he cares, and you can tell he puts his heart into his cases.
He was very friendly and just said leave everything to them, and I felt that we were in good hands.
Chris did call and let me know that the case was settled.
It wasn't a victory because there's nothing to replace my brother. All I can say is I believe in the Culleton team.
I cried a little bit. It was a cry, like a sigh of relief, but then the reality of my brother being gone actually set in.
Clyde will always be with me, regardless of him not being here physically.
It was a joy to have Clyde in my life. I'm glad that God put him in my life. I see him in my children. He lives on through my children.
Well, you know, the saddest thing, of course, was why Clyde was in a skilled nursing facility. This was a young man who had a horrible injury because of a crime. I understand that the perpetrator was arrested and convicted, and he's doing 30 to 60 years in jail, but you know, the outcome was just catastrophic for this family. This young man now had a brain injury, and he was also bedbound because he had a physical injury because of the spinal cord injury. And unfortunately, there was nothing that could be done for him. The money wasn't going to make his life any better, but what the money did do is it's a penalty against the nursing home, and it makes them change so that nobody else ends up in the same situation that Clyde was in. When you're searching for a skilled nursing facility, well, the first thing you can do is you can look online. There's a website on the Medicare.gov website. The page is called Nursing Home Compare. And on that, it lists every nursing home, how many beds it has, what kind of star rating it has, what kind of staffing levels it has. And that's the starting point. But I think it's more important to actually visit the facility. You have 5 senses, and you use all of your senses to pick up information. Does the place smell? Try the food. What does it taste like? What do you see? What do you hear? You know, touch things. You know, is it dirty? Is the surface dirty? You can learn so much from those kind of impressions. That's a little more difficult because I'm not sure you're going to get a straight answer. You're with the marketing person. They see, you know, scores of people every week. And they're always going to give you the stats that favor them, and they're going to be able to deflect your concerns and criticisms. It's much more important to get away from the marketing people. You know, give them the slip, talk to the aides, talk to the other residents, talk to the nurses, the people who work in the kitchen, and ask them, you know, what's this place like? And you know what? They'll be honest. They'll tell you. And they might not tell you in words, but they'll tell you in body language. The most common are bed sores. Followed by falls, you know, with fractures or bleeds in the brain, medication errors, chemical restraints, and that could be avoided. It's time to call an attorney when there's an injury. I mean, we work after the fact. We do forensic investigations to find out why something bad happened, and then we obtain compensation for the family for that outcome. Look, as a lawyer, there's many different ways that you can employ your talents and skills. What I like about Swartz Culleton is we're using our talent and our skill to benefit people who really need it.
Real cases from the files of Swartz Culleton.
I am a certified nurse's assistant. One day I fell on the job and badly injured my knee. The pain was agonizing. I didn't know what to turn. I thought things would never be the same. Then my claim was denied, so I called the attorneys of Swartz Culleton. They stood up to the insurance company and got me an excellent cash settlement. Swartz Culleton got me justice.
If you've been injured, get justice.
Call 1-800-JUSTICE today.
The proceeding was a sponsored program paid for by Swartz Culleton.